Not one that lives in machines, but one that exists in your own mind. And it is so powerful, so subtle, it can hack your entire life without your awareness. This algorithm does not require code. It does not need a computer. It needs only your attention, and once it has it, it can control your emotions, reactions, and identity. We call it unconscious habit. Let us understand it, not with fear, but with clarity. Because once you see it, you are no longer its prisoner. And so today I offer you not fear, but 6 habits, 6 ancient disciplines to reprogram this inner algorithm and regain mastery over your mind. Acht Day begins before you even open your eyes, not with peace, but with a flood. A flood of sounds, thoughts, lights, your phone buzzing, your mind racing, your body already preparing to rush. But what if I told you that in those first few moments something far more dangerous than a busy schedule awakens alongside you? It is not your alarm clock that controls you. It is the unobserved force of habit, of unconscious automation, the dark algorithm that has learned exactly how to lead you away from yourself. This algorithm does not require intention from you because it already knows your patterns. It studies your fears, your desires, your distractions, and the moment your feet touch the floor without stillness, without presence, it begins to take over. One alert leads to another, one message leads to 10, your mind jumps from thought to thought like a monkey chasing shadows. By the time you realize it, you've already forgotten your breath, your purpose, your direction. You're living someone else's program. The way out is not a battle. It is a practice, and the first practice, the most important, is the cultivation of morning stillness. This is the first key, the first defense, the first act of reclaiming your mind from the machine of reaction. Before the sun rises fully, before the world asks for your attention, you sit. Not to achieve, not to plan, but simply to return, to remember that you are not your phone, you are not your to-do list. You are not a machine to be programmed. You are awareness itself. Sit without noise. No music, no screens, not even words, just breath. Inhale fully, exhale slowly. Let the thoughts come and go, but you stay here. It is in this space of silence that you meet the part of yourself the algorithm cannot touch. It is here that clarity begins to bloom, like a lotus on still water. In stillness, you are no longer the hunted, you are the observer. And once you observe, you become free. You might say, I don't have time. But time is not the issue. The issue is what you give your time to. 5 minutes of morning stillness is not a sacrifice, it is a seed. And like every seed, it carries within it the potential for transformation. It is not about the quantity of time, but the quality of presence. In those minutes of stillness, you rewrite your operating system. You set the tone for the day, not with chaos, but with calm, not with reaction, but with intention. This stillness is not emptiness, it is full of wisdom. It reveals to you what is essential and what is noise. It shows you what the algorithm wants you to forget, that peace is not something to be found at the end of the day, but something you choose at the beginning. And once you choose it, your mind changes, your heart opens, your body relaxes. You begin to see the world not as a battlefield, but as a training ground for mindfulness. Do not be fooled by the simplicity of the practice. The world will tempt you with urgency. Notifications will scream for your attention, but every time you choose stillness instead, you weaken the grip of the algorithm. You train your mind to listen inward rather than outward. You re-establish sovereignty over the most powerful space you own, your inner space. Some days the silence will feel deep and nourishing, other days it will feel restless and noisy. That is normal. That is part of the practice. The point is not to feel good. The point is to feel real, to sit with what is, to watch without judging, and to return again and again to the breath, to the present moment, to yourself. This is how the ancient masters trained their minds, not through constant striving, but through consistent stillness. They understood that the outer world is only ever a reflection of the inner world. And if your inner world is scattered, your life will be scattered. But if your inner world is centered, your life begins to reflect that peace. So start small, rise early, sit upright, breathe deeply, observe gently. No need to force anything, no need to chase a result. Just return to yourself, and in doing so you begin to reprogram the pattern. You begin to teach your mind that stillness is not a luxury but a necessity, that peace is not passive but powerful, that clarity is not rare but remembered. This habit, once cultivated, becomes a sanctuary, a sacred space you carry within you wherever you go. In traffic, you remember your breath. In stress, you recall the silence. In conflict, you return to the stillness that cannot be disturbed. This is not theory, this is training. And every morning you practice, you strengthen the part of you that cannot be hacked. So begin tomorrow, not with noise, but with awareness. Do not rush into the day. Step into it like a warrior steps onto the path. Deliberate, calm, awake. The dark algorithm feeds on forgetfulness, but stillness is your reminder, and with that, the day belongs to you again. The body and the mind are not two separate worlds, they are one temple with many doors. Every thought you have is shaped by the state of your body, and every movement you make reflects the condition of your mind. This truth is ancient yet forgotten in a time where we sit more than we stand, where we scroll more than we breathe, and where we analyze more than we move. The algorithm that hacks the mind understands this deeply. It thrives when the body is weak, because a tired body is easy to control, and a sluggish vessel is easy to manipulate. It does not need to convince your mind of fear if your body already feels afraid. It does not need to distract your thoughts if your energy is already scattered. That is why the second habit is to strengthen the vessel, to engage daily in conscious movement, not for performance or appearance, but to awaken the awareness within the body. When you move with intention, you break the loop of passivity. You interrupt the mind's habit of overthinking by reminding it what it means to be grounded. In motion, you return to your senses, to the rhythm of breath, to the pulse of life that no screen can imitate. This is not about fitness, it is about presence. The body, when moved consciously, becomes a living meditation. Each stretch, each step, each breath becomes a conversation between you and the present moment. This is not a task, this is a sacred ritual. The algorithm seeks to weaken your connection to your body, because once that connection fades, so does your ability to act with clarity. The body becomes heavy, the mind becomes foggy, decisions become harder, action becomes delayed, and soon you are living in a loop of postponement. You postpone effort, you postpone truth, you postpone your own becoming. But when you wake up and move, you activate something that technology cannot replicate. You activate spirit in form. You tell the mind, we are awake, we are here, we are choosing to engage. The discipline of daily movement is not about how long or how intense. What matters is that it is intentional. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, it does not matter. What matters is that your body learns again to obey awareness, not algorithm. When you stretch your spine, you remind it that you carry yourself with strength. When you breathe deeply into your belly, you reclaim space that stress once occupied. When you walk with focus and posture, you tell the world and yourself that you are not drifting, you are arriving. Do not let the simplicity of movement deceive you. This practice is not small, it is foundational. A still body can sometimes conceal a chaotic mind, but a moving body, when moved with grace, can harmonize the chaos within. If your mind is racing, do not just sit and think about why. Stand up, walk, breathe, shake out the tension. The algorithm wants you frozen because frozen means predictable, but life is not meant to be predictable, it is meant to be awake. Movement is how you awaken from the trance. And do not forget your breath. Breath is the bridge between body and mind. If you move but do not breathe, you are only performing. If you breathe but do not move, you are only resting. But if you breathe and move together, you enter the flow where thought disappears and awareness expands. This is the gateway to self-mastery. The Shaolin monks have known this for centuries. They did not train just for strength or combat, they trained to dissolve the separation between mind and motion. Every punch was prayer, every step was discipline, every breath was presence. Even walking can become powerful if done with full attention. Do not underestimate the power of slow, deliberate motion. In a world that rushes to nowhere, walking with presence is a rebellion. It is a return to what is real. Feel your feet touch the ground. Feel the air move around you. Feel the rhythm of your steps syncing with your breath. This is not exercise, this is embodiment. You are not just passing through the world, you are arriving fully into it. And when you move like this each day, the body becomes an ally, not a burden. It supports the mind instead of resisting it. It becomes lighter, more flexible, more awake. And with this comes a quiet confidence, not from how you look, but from how you live. You no longer feel controlled by urges or pulled by cravings because you are grounded in something deeper than habit. You are grounded in discipline, and discipline creates freedom. Freedom to respond rather than react, to choose rather than obey, to live rather than survive. When your body becomes your practice, you begin to hear the subtle messages it sends. You notice tension before it becomes pain. You sense anxiety before it becomes panic. You feel disconnection before it becomes despair. This sensitivity is strength. The algorithm cannot survive in a body that is awake because it relies on numbness and distraction. But when you are fully present in your form, you are no longer easy to program because you are fully here. So move every day not to escape your mind but to meet it, not to perfect your form but to enter your form fully. And let each motion, each breath, each step be a reminder that this body is not just flesh and bone, but a vehicle for awareness, for presence, for purpose. Do not wait for pain to remind you that your body needs attention. Give it your attention now, and it will return to you strength, clarity, and peace. The day ends, but the mind often does not. You lie down and the body rests, yet thoughts continue to echo unanswered, unresolved, unexamined. This is how the algorithm remains hidden. It thrives in the blind spots of your awareness, in the places where questions are never asked, where choices are never reviewed, where actions slip quietly into forgetfulness. But to reclaim mastery over the mind, you must bring light into that darkness. The practice is simple, but it requires honesty. It is the practice of facing the mirror, not with judgment, but with curiosity. It is the discipline of evening reflection, not for blame, but for learning. The mind is a river, and throughout the day many things enter its stream. Words, emotions, reactions, temptations, victories, doubts, habits, both old and new. If you do not pause to see what is flowing through you, then by morning you are already downstream, already far from your center. The habit of reflection is what brings you back. It is the moment you ask, where have I been, and who was I while I was there? What did I allow into my mind, and how did I respond? This is not philosophy, it is training. You are training yourself to notice, and what you notice you can change. The algorithm wants you to move from day to day without looking back because reflection breaks its rhythm. When you examine your own behavior, you weaken its influence. When you remember your choices, you become more likely to choose with intention tomorrow. But if you fall into the cycle of forgetting, you become easier to direct. You react without seeing, you speak without understanding. You live without questioning. That is how the algorithm works. It depends on your lack of reflection. It wants the day to pass without a pause. But when you pause, you interrupt the code. So each evening you sit quietly with yourself. You let the silence hold you like still water. You begin to ask not just what did I do, but how did I feel when I did it? Where was I awake and where was I asleep? Did I speak from truth or from habit? Did I move with purpose or was I pulled by impulse? These questions are not there to punish you. They are there to free you. They are the light that shows you where the mind has been hijacked by programming and where it has remained rooted in awareness. The truth is, most people are not afraid of change. They are afraid of facing themselves. Because when you see your day clearly, you also see your patterns. You see where you act out of fear, where you hide behind distraction, where you ignore the deeper call of your life. But this seeing is not shameful, it is sacred, it is the beginning of awakening. You cannot shift what you do not see, and you cannot lead your mind if you never watch where it goes. This is why the mirror matters. It does not lie, it does not flatter, it simply reflects. When you look at your day through this inner mirror, you begin to discover the places where the algorithm is strongest. You notice how quickly you reach for your phone when discomfort arises. You see how easily your mind clings to the past or rushes into the future. You begin to catch the moments where your words were not yours but someone else's. And you do all this, not with anger, but with awareness. You look and you learn. And something beautiful begins to happen. You begin to trust yourself. Because when you reflect, you begin to see the patterns that once seemed invisible. You recognize the triggers that push you into reaction. You remember the moments when you chose peace over pride or courage over comfort. You start to see not only where you fell, but where you stood up. Not only where you forgot, but where you remembered. And that remembering is what reshapes the mind. Reflection also reconnects you to your values. In a world that moves fast, it is easy to lose sight of what matters. But when you sit in the evening and reflect, you ask yourself if your actions matched your principles. Did you speak from your higher self or from your wounds? Did you act with integrity or with convenience? These questions refine you. They sharpen your awareness like a blade. They keep you from drifting into the fog of unconscious living. Even 10 minutes of reflection can shift the direction of your life. It is not about writing essays or making perfect journals. It is about the willingness to look, to notice, to remember. You can reflect in silence or in writing, with your breath or with your thoughts. The form is not important, the sincerity is. This is how you train the mind not just to act but to grow, because each day is a lesson, and if you skip the lesson, you repeat it. The monks of old would end their day not with distraction but with gratitude and review. They would ask, what have I learned from today? What did I offer? What did I avoid? And they would offer this reflection not to the world but to the silence within themselves. In that silence, wisdom was born. In that stillness, direction was found. This is not a lost tradition, it is a needed one. In this time, more than ever, you must be willing to stop, not just to rest, but to remember. Without reflection, your days become noise. With reflection, your days become teachings, and you begin to live not as a machine, but as a mindful being. The algorithm loses power when you remember your power, when you choose to look back with eyes open, not to hold on, but to understand. You free yourself from the repetition of unconscious patterns. So do not end the day in haste, end it in presence. Sit quietly, ask clearly, listen deeply. Let the day speak its lessons to you, and carry that wisdom into tomorrow with awareness, with purpose, with peace. There is a power in the words you speak, not only to others but to yourself. Each word carries a vibration, and each vibration leaves a trace on your mind. The dark algorithm understands this better than most. It feeds on the language of doubt. You do not even question them because they sound like your voice, but they are not your truth. They are echoes of old fears, of unseen conditioning, of quiet surrender. But there is a different voice within you, a quieter one, a slower one that does not push or panic. It speaks not to the world but from within. It is not loud because it does not need to convince. It knows who you are beneath the noise, beneath the roles, beneath the programming. The fourth habit is to train your voice to align with this inner truth. This is not about speaking more. This is about speaking clean, speaking with care, speaking only what uplifts, what strengthens, what awakens. You see, every time you speak, you are casting a spell. Words are seeds, and if you plant them carelessly, your garden will reflect confusion. But if you speak with awareness, you begin to see the power of language to build, to heal, to guide. When you say, I am tired, I am stressed, I am lost, your mind believes you. But when you say, I am breathing, I am aware, I am learning, your mind believes that too. The difference is not the facts, it is the frame. You are not denying difficulty, you are choosing the direction. Many people speak without listening to themselves. They use sarcasm, self-criticism, complaint, without realizing that their words are not passing through the air, they are entering their own nervous system. And the nervous system does not understand jokes, it only feels the tone. So when you say things like, I never get it right, or my life is a mess, or I always fail, you're teaching your body to shrink your energy to close and your mind to submit. To break the algorithm, you must first break the habit of unconscious language. Begin to observe the words you use, especially when you talk to yourself. Would you speak that way to someone you love? Would you encourage someone with those words? If not, then they do not belong in your practice. Replace them not with empty positivity, but with grounded clarity. Say what is true and what is helpful. I am feeling pressure and I will meet it with breath. I do not know the answer yet and I am willing to learn. I made a mistake and I am not the mistake. This kind of speech sharpens your awareness. It rewires the old code. It tells the algorithm, I am not yours to command. I speak from choice, not from programming. And over time, the way you speak changes the way you think. The way you think changes the way you act. The way you act changes the life you build. It is also important to speak your intentions aloud, not just to yourself, but into the space around you. This is not magic, it is alignment. When you say clearly what you are committed to, your mind begins to organize around it. I choose stillness in the morning. I move my body with purpose. I reflect each night with honesty. I speak from truth, not from fear. These statements are not wishes, they are instructions. You are programming your mind consciously rather than letting the algorithm do it for you. Silence is also part of this habit, because when you speak with care, you also learn to honor silence. Not all moments need words. Not all questions need answers. Sometimes the most powerful speech is the pause that holds space. When you stop filling the air with noise, you begin to hear your own mind more clearly. You begin to notice which words rise from habit and which rise from presence. This discernment is power. There will be moments when you fall back into old language, when fear speaks first, when anger rushes in. That is part of the training. The goal is not perfection, it is awareness. Catch it, notice it, redirect it. If you speak with frustration, apologize with truth. If you criticize yourself gently, return to kindness. This is how you build the habit of conscious speech, not through force, but through attention. Language is not only for expression, it is for creation. Every culture that understood the sacred spoke their words with reverence. Mantras, chants, prayers, poetry. They were not decoration, they were tools. They shaped energy, directed focus, and trained the mind. You do not need special words to do this, you need sincere words, true words, words that carry your intention with clarity. Practice by choosing one phrase each day that reflects your highest intention and carry it with you like a compass. Let it guide your actions. Let it shape your responses. Let it become a part of your energy. Not just I hope, but I choose. Not just I wish, but I will. This is the speech of a mind that is not owned by the algorithm. And when you speak to others, remember the weight of your words. You never know what mind is listening. You never know what pain is hidden beneath the surface. A kind word can become someone's strength. A careless word can deepen their wound. Speak not to impress, but to express truth. Speak not to control, but to connect. This too is training. Train your voice each day like you train your breath, like you train your movement, like you train your mind. Speak only what you are willing to become, because every word is a mirror, every phrase a path, and the more you speak from awareness, the less space the algorithm has to write your story. Attention is the currency of the mind, the most precious resource that shapes your reality every moment. You give it away. You invest in something, whether it serves you or not. The dark algorithm understands this deeply. It does not just want your actions. It wants your focus, your gaze, your very presence. Because where attention goes, energy flows. And if your attention is scattered, your energy is fragmented, your life becomes fragmented too. This is why the fifth habit is to cultivate mastery over your attention, to become the guardian of where you place your awareness every day. To train your attention is to train your freedom. Freedom from distraction, freedom from reaction, freedom from the endless noise that pulls you away from your center. The algorithm exploits the gaps, the moments of boredom, the seconds of wandering mind, because those are the openings it uses to infiltrate your consciousness, to reprogram your thoughts, to hijack your feelings, and steer you away from your true self. But when you learn to bring your attention back again, and again you build an inner fortress that cannot be breached easily. This practice begins with noticing when your mind drifts, when your focus slips, when your energy fades. Instead of blaming yourself or pushing harder, you simply observe. You become curious about the patterns of distraction, the triggers that scatter your gaze, and you learn to gently redirect yourself without judgment, without frustration. This gentle return is the essence of attention mastery. It is the practice of becoming present, not by force but by invitation. Distractions are inevitable, but surrendering to them is optional. You can choose to follow the flicker of a notification, or you can choose to bring your mind back to the task at hand. You can allow your thoughts to spiral into worry, or you can anchor yourself in the breath. You can let the chaos outside dictate your inner world, or you can create calm within your own being. This choice is available in every moment, and with practice it becomes stronger, clearer, more automatic. One powerful method to cultivate this habit is to practice single tasking, fully immersing yourself in one activity at a time, rather than fragmenting your mind across many tasks. The algorithm thrives on fragmentation. It feeds on the scattered mind, because scattered minds are easier to manipulate. But when you focus deeply on one thing, you build a muscle of concentration and you reclaim control over your mental landscape. Whether it is reading a book, listening to a friend, eating a meal, or simply walking, you bring your full presence to that experience, and in doing so, you dissolve the power of distraction. Mindfulness meditation is another ancient tool for attention mastery. By sitting quietly and watching your breath or sensations, you train the mind to notice when it wanders and to return gently to the present moment. Over time, this rewires the brain to become less reactive and more stable, more awake. It creates a buffer between stimulus and response, so that you no longer act on impulse but respond with choice. This is the path to true freedom, the freedom the algorithm fears. Technology can either enslave or serve you depending on how you use it. Set boundaries around your digital habits. turn off unnecessary notifications, create periods of silence without screens, designate spaces where no devices are allowed. These small acts of discipline protect your attention like a sacred flame. They prevent the algorithm from creeping into every corner of your day and allow you to live more fully in the real world rather than the fabricated one. Attention is also about where you direct your mental energy, what thoughts you feed, what stories you tell yourself. If your mind constantly dwells on fear or failure, you strengthen those neural pathways and weaken the ones for courage and creativity. But if you intentionally focus on what inspires you, what challenges you, what uplifts you, you nourish the parts of your brain that support growth and resilience. This is how attention shapes not just moments, but your entire life story. Rest is part of attention mastery as well, because a fatigued mind is an unfocused mind. When you allow yourself to rest deeply, your brain recovers, your nervous system calms, and your ability to concentrate improves. Rest is not laziness, it is preparation for presence. It is the soil in which attention grows strong and steady. Without rest, attention wanes, and the algorithm finds easy entry. Practice also kindness toward yourself when your attention slips. Do not scold yourself or fall into shame. These reactions only fuel distraction instead. Smile gently and return your gaze to the present. Remember that the mind is like a wild horse. It will wander, it will resist, but with patience and persistence, it learns to come back to the rider again and again. In your relationships, attention becomes a gift, the deepest form of presence. When you truly listen to another without planning your response or judging their words, you honor their existence and strengthen your connection. This mindful listening is a practice that builds empathy and dissolves misunderstandings. It creates a space where authenticity can flourish, because attention is not just about what you focus on within yourself, but how you engage with the world around you. You can also train your attention through creative practices, painting, writing, playing music, dancing. All these activities require focus and invite flow, the state where time disappears and the mind is fully engaged. This flow state is a natural antidote to distraction because it pulls you completely into the moment. It aligns body, mind, and spirit into one harmonious movement. This is where attention feels effortless and joy arises naturally. The more you train your attention, the more you notice subtle details, the colors, the sounds, the textures of life that often go unseen. This expanded awareness enriches your experience and deepens your gratitude. It shifts your perception from survival mode into presence mode, and this shift is revolutionary. It is the quiet revolution that cannot be hacked or stolen. Remember that attention is a skill like any other. It grows with practice and weakens with neglect. Do not be discouraged if at first your mind feels chaotic. If you feel pulled in many directions, that is the starting point, not the failure. The very act of noticing distraction is a victory, because it means you are awakening to your own mind. The practice is to keep coming back to the here and now, again and again, until presence becomes your default. In this way, you become not a victim of the algorithm, but a master of your own attention. You choose where to place your focus, what to feed, what to follow, and what to release. You build an inner sanctuary where the mind can rest and the soul can breathe. You reclaim your power by guarding your gaze and cultivating clarity. The mind craves certainty in a world that is always shifting. It seeks patterns, answers, and predictable outcomes. Yet this craving can become a trap. The dark algorithm exploits this hunger for certainty by feeding you easy answers, false promises, quick fixes, and simple stories that distract you from the deeper truth that life is complex, uncertain, and full of paradox. This is why the sixth habit is to cultivate the courage to embrace uncertainty, to live with open hands and open mind, willing to face the unknown with curiosity rather than fear. When you cling to certainty, you close the door to growth. You build walls around your mind that block new ideas and fresh perspectives. The algorithm wants you to stay comfortable because comfort means control. It wants you to avoid ambiguity because ambiguity means freedom. Ambiguity means choice. Ambiguity means the power to create your own path, not follow the one programmed for you. But when you learn to sit with uncertainty without rushing to fill the silence, without grabbing for answers, you awaken a different kind of strength, a resilience that cannot be hacked. This habit is not about pretending you know what will happen or forcing confidence when you feel doubt. It is about acknowledging that not knowing is part of being alive, that some questions have no quick answers and some paths have no clear direction. But this is not weakness, it is wisdom, the wisdom of the warrior who walks into the fog, trusting their steps, trusting their senses, trusting their own presence. To cultivate this habit, you must learn to notice your reactions to uncertainty. Notice the urge to control, to resist, to escape the unknown, and instead choose to breathe into the discomfort, to allow the questions to exist without panic. This is a practice of surrender, not defeat. It is the art of holding space for history, rather than filling it with stories that keep you trapped in fear or confusion. Meditation is a powerful ally in this practice because it teaches you to rest in the present moment without needing to fix or change anything. When you meditate, you meet uncertainty head-on. You sit with the restless mind, the unanswered questions, the swirling emotions, and you learn to observe without attachment. This observation creates distance, it creates freedom, and freedom dissolves fear. Another way to embrace uncertainty is to cultivate curiosity. Curiosity turns the unknown into a playground. It invites exploration, experimentation, and discovery. Instead of fearing what you cannot see, you become fascinated by it. You ask questions that open new doors instead of closing them. You welcome surprises as teachers rather than threats. This shift from fear to curiosity transforms your relationship with life itself. Living with uncertainty also requires humility. Humility to admit you do not have all the answers. Humility to accept mistakes, failures, and detours as part of the journey. Humility to recognize that your story is always evolving and that you are a student of life, not its master. This humility dissolves the need for rigid control and opens the heart to possibility. In this space of uncertainty, you discover creativity, because creativity thrives in the gaps between what is known and what is possible. It is born in the tension of contradiction and nourished by the willingness to try again, to fail again, to start again without guarantee of success. This creative courage is a direct challenge to the algorithm, which wants predictability, repeatability, sameness. Building tolerance for uncertainty also strengthens your decision-making, because when you stop seeking perfect certainty, you begin to trust your intuition, your inner guidance. You learn to take action even when the path is not fully clear. You become comfortable with imperfect information, with ambiguity, and you find peace in the process of unfolding, rather than clinging to fixed outcomes. Relationships benefit from this habit too, because when you embrace uncertainty, you allow others to be imperfect. You stop trying to control their behavior or fix their problems. You accept the ebb and flow of connection with grace and patience. You listen more deeply and respond more wisely because you are not trapped by rigid expectations. The habit of embracing uncertainty also protects your peace in a world that is constantly changing. News events, technology, social shifts all bring unpredictability, but when you cultivate openness to change, you become less reactive, less anxious, less overwhelmed. You flow with life rather than resist it, and in this flow you find freedom. It is important to remember that embracing uncertainty does not mean giving up on goals or values. It means holding them lightly like a lantern rather than gripping them tightly like a chain. You walk toward your vision with determination, but with flexibility, ready to adjust course as new information arises. This balance between intention and openness is the hallmark of a wise mind. You can practice this habit daily by deliberately placing yourself in situations where outcomes are unknown, where you must adapt, where you cannot control what happens. These might be small moments or larger challenges, but each encounter builds resilience. Each choice to lean into the unknown strengthens your capacity to live fully awake. The greatest teachers throughout history have all spoken of the importance of embracing the unknown. The mystics, the sages, the warriors, all point to the space beyond certainty as the place where true transformation occurs. It is there that the mind loosens its grip. The heart opens wider and the soul remembers its freedom in the face of uncertainty. You find your true self. Not the programmed version shaped by fear or habit, but the living, vibrant essence that flows like water, that dances with change, that breathes with life. This is the mind that cannot be hacked because it is free, because it is awake, because it chooses to live beyond the algorithm's reach.